Stick around today because I'm going to give you the 10 C's of survival for a day hiker in a really tiny footprint that you can carry. Let's check it out. Okay, so first off, what are the 10 C's of survival? This is kind of that modern retake on the older sort of 10 essentials that came out from like scouting and mountaineering back in the day. It's just been more modernized. So let's look at these. Okay, so the first one's going to be a cutting tool. Then you got combustion device. You got cover. You got container. Cordage. And you got some kind of cotton wrap. I'm thinking like bandana when I typically think this. Have a compass. Have a candling device, so think lighting. Cargo tape. And then last but not least, you've got a canvas needle. So that gets you your full 10. So let's check it out and see where they are. So to package these away, I'm using the Maxpedition. I think this is the Micro. That's the one without the MOLLE webbing on the back of it. So this is like the smallest one they had. So you can see it's just a single pouch with one grab handle. It's definitely small enough to slip into a cargo pocket, so just about anybody can carry it. You'll notice I've got a few things on the outside here in this little mesh weave pocket. We'll kind of talk through these first. And you notice there's some little extra bits and pieces in here, and that's going to continue with the kit because obviously nowhere in there did I list out zip ties. But I do have a handful of those in here. There's smaller ones. Let me get this out of here. But I just tucked them up in here because, you never know when you might need those. I do have a few folds of the 1-inch Gorilla tape. So this is my cargo tape. It just slides down in here. It's about, I think I had about 1.5 feet in here, somewhere in that neighborhood. Not a ton, but a little bit to do some, gear recovery, gear patching, if you get holes in your tarp or any of that fun stuff. So just a little bit of help here. You'll also notice inside here, there's no first aid gear whatsoever. I do carry a separate first aid kit, and I'll put a link to the video on that first aid kit in the description below if you care to check that out. But let's pop in. You'll notice this is pretty darn full. So what all do we have in here? Right off the gate, this kind of goes along with my candling. I've got just one of these rechargeable. It's just a UV glow stick, so you hit it with your headlamp or your flashlight or whatever. This thing glows for quite some times, and it's just going to, every time you recharge it, and by recharge it I mean just hitting it with a light, it's going to continue to grow, and it does get pretty darn bright. So I like this just to have a little soft light inside your shelter. Go along with that candling device, I do have one single glow stick up here that I just keep tucked into here. I'll set that aside. The one that sticks out very quickly on here, kicked my compass out the way. The one that sticks out really quickly over here, this is just the Swiss Army, this is the Huntsman, so it's got all the bells and whistles that go along with it. So I've got a little ferro rod in here with some tinder, there's a pin tucked way back there, there's a little mini saw on here, it's got couple knife blades, there's scissors in here, there are tweezers, there's toothpick, a little bit of cordage. You guys saw this one on my EDC video. I've done a review on this knife. This is probably hands down my favorite Swiss Army knife that I have come across. Not too bulky, just the right size, so it fits nicely into this kit. So that's my cutting tool. And additionally, up here we've got this little Sun turtle compass. I don't love it. I like as far as the little small clipper compasses, I like the Suntoe a lot better. I just happen to have this one laying around. If I were going to carry this, I would probably put one of those Suntoe clippers up here on the drag handle, and that way it's sort of always out there and easily accessible. But this one works in a pinch. Not great, but definitely better than not. And we've got about 25 feet of tarp bank line here. Just have it pulled off. So this is my ridge line and cordage here. Set him aside up here. And over here we have a little mini pick. Like I said, we have a little tiny ferro rod in here, but if you're lighting a fire, just precaution's sake, just use a lighter. That's the easiest way to do it. I do have a little bit of tinder over here, got some jute and got some fat wood to kind of get things started there. I do have one emergency whistle over here. That's just a little Orion whistle. I like the flat profile of it, fits nicely into here. And then I have one Rite in the Rain ink pen. I like it. You can flip it out and you get a full-size pen instead of trying to use a little nub. And that is going to work in conjunction with this little small Rite in the Rain tablet. I'll set these over here. So we come into here, and this is probably one of the bulkier items that we've got. This is just a full-size cotton bandana. So in my head, I'm using this for picking up hot stuff, something to clean the sweat out of my face. I can hang this up if I do decide I'm lost or turned around. I can hang this up, and this is going to be home base. So I can always kind of work out from that one spot, and it gives me something visual that I can recognize while I'm out and about. There's just a litany of stuff that you can use these things for. And I think that's all the big stuff out of here. And then up here, I just have a handful of safety pins just in case we need those, because you never really know. Now flipping over to this side, I have my one big pushed in cell needle over here. That's a big sewing needle. And I just have it just kind of tucked in over here. It usually sits there right beside my whistle. And so we'll just go through this pouch. Now we have a good bit of stuff on this left side over here. I'll just pull a chunk of it out. So water tabs up front, in case we need to make water safer to drink. I have a 1 liter Ziploc bag over here. This is the closest thing to a container I'm going to get inside of here. Obviously, I can't put a metal bottle in here, any of that fun jazz, but I do have a Ziploc bag that I can transport and collect water in. I have one Batterix recharger for my cell phone. It's going to get me the bulk of a charge. You guys have probably seen me. I have these things quite often. I like them. They use them pretty often. It is a single-use item, so it's a one and done, but they are super tiny, and they'll go for your Android and your iPhones, so they're agnostic to what type of phone it is. I have one Mylar blanket up here, so this is obviously my sheltering option. Again, kind of like the containers, not some kind of huge footprint. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. Will it work in a pinch? Sure. Is it ideal? No, not at all. And then I have about a 1 foot by 1 foot square of aluminum foil, and it's the thicker aluminum foil, so that if I do need to actually boil something, it would be in here, or even just using it for signaling or whatever. That's kind of what this is intended for. So you guys can see in a pretty small footprint, and this whole thing, it's only a little over a pound, somewhere in that neighborhood. We've got a lot of our basic blocking and tackling covered. We've got cutting tools. We've got a little bit of stab at shelter and making water safe to drink. We can repower our phone. We've got some between here and here, we've got some repair stuff, and even the zip ties. We can go through and record what's going on. We can leave notes. We got a little bit of lighting, a little bit of nav. We've got some sheltering capabilities over here. So we're just trying to cover the basic sort of blocking and tackling of, if I'm lost, what am I going to have to take care of? Is this ideal? No. Am I going to go out in the woods and depend just on this? No. There's a lot of people that go out in the woods and depend on absolutely nothing, though. They're setting themselves up for failure. At least take the efforts. It does not have to be a big, massive kit. If you're just hell-bent and determined that I'm not going to carry a bunch of gear, you don't have to carry a bunch of gear, and you'll still have an advantage over, if something happens, I've at least got some of the basics covered to hopefully bring me home safely. Okay, so is this a replacement for like a normal full-size kit? Absolutely not. I do not advocate taking just this out on the trail. If you look at any of my other videos, you notice I carry more than just this out on the trail. But from a search and rescue perspective, I would rather be looking for the person who got at least this much with them, as opposed to the person who's got nothing with them. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you learned something, picked up a couple ideas that you can use next time you're out on the trail. Maybe I'll see you then.